Aloha Namaste. Today I'm going to share with you a powerful visualization meditation that you can use to heal and let go of inner child wounds. This meditation visualization process is extremely powerful because as we go throughout our lives, if we move on from a wound that happened to us in our past and we haven't fully integrated it or processed it, it will start coming out in self-sabotaging ways. We will be acting it out one way or another. So for example, let's say, one of mine was my father hitting me or scaring me and punishing me when I would make mistakes. This is really common. A lot of us were spanked, or maybe fear or terror was used as a form of punishment. So this created a huge wound in my psyche, and it had all kinds of interesting side effects. One of the biggest ones being obviously anger or aggression as a way of essentially crying out for help. So if I were to go back into this experience, now this is obviously something you want to do in a safe place and in an environment where you feel really loved and supported, and just always remember that you are in your own peaceful energy now. And if you find yourself at any point getting uncomfortable exploring the visualization process, you would just go ahead and come out of it and come back into your present moment. So just maybe a caveat there for a moment. But the main thing is we want to try to avoid that feeling by breaking down the scenario from our now mature conscious viewpoint of the experience. And so here's what I mean by that is when we go into these meditations and visualizations, you're going to pick just one of these main emotional pains to focus on. And if I were to use this one with my father, what I would want to do is, in my meditation, I would want to go back to the earliest time I can remember, or one of the biggest memories that sticks out to me that really encapsulates the symbolic experience of this, okay, where it really sums up the energy and the trauma the most. And it doesn't have to be that, but it's just what can help you really anchor into the experience. And the point here is not to go into the experience. That's not the goal. The goal is not to relive the experience. The goal is to see the person who it passed on this trauma differently. So I want to just state that as well. Another big caveat is the goal is not to relive the trauma. That is not what we want to do. The goal is to just bring awareness to that experience, not to relive it, just to be yes, there it is, and then immediately shift your attention to the person. So if I were doing this meditation, it's going to be a little interesting. I'll give you the basics. I can't literally guide you through it because we're all going to have our own experience that you're healing. So I'm going to give you the framework for it, and then you can use this practice for any particular inner child wound. So if I were to be looking at this one with my father, I would be going into my meditation, settling into the moment, checking in with my breath, becoming present, and then I would just remember this energy. I would remember this experience. And then just as quickly as I've tapped into the experience, I don't want to stay there too long, I then want to immediately redirect my mind's eye to the person or people. In this case, it would be my father. So I think about it for a moment, and with my now mature understanding, I want to go back into this moment in time and console myself and give myself love and comfort from my now understanding. So what that means is that I want to re-look at my father with wisdom and see that none of this trauma was about me. Whatever painful negative experiences that we have gone through in our lives, it's not actually the truth of who we are. The truth of who we are is innocent, is pure, is loved, is totally free, and completely held, completely secure, protected, guided, loved. Just all this beautiful innocence. Now, we collected a story through these experiences. In this experience, I obviously collected a lot of really negative stories of I'm bad, I'm punishable, I deserve to be hurt. Ooh, those are big narratives, right? And if I don't heal that, if I don't make peace with that, I am going to subconsciously bring that into my mature life. And this is how all human interactions work when it comes to trauma. Trauma begets trauma. So a traumatized person passes on trauma to other people, because as humans, we are projectors. We are reflecting our experiences. So it's not that far-fetched to realize that I obviously started being aggressive with my sisters. Where did I learn that behavior, right? So as I had to go back and heal this for myself, I realized, whoa, I was then acting like that. And I've had so many moments where I'm like, whoa, I'm doing that. So very innocently, we learn ignorance and then we continue ignorance. So we want to correct this. I see now in this visualization, I see this experience, and I see that this is not about me. And I give all these stories back. And I realize, all of this pain, all of these stories are his or hers, whoever your situation is. And you give it back to them energetically. And you say, I see now clearly, you were stressed. You were impatient. You could not handle it. You had your own fears, maybe. You had your own traumas. Turns out, you know, this example of mine, my grandpa did that to him, and even worse. So I start to see the scenario and I give all this back to him. And I just say, I see that all this pain was yours, and I do not continue the cycle. I'm going to break this cycle. So you look at the adult. Well, I guess it could have been a sibling too. So you look at the person, doesn't necessarily whoever this trauma came from. You look at the being and you give back the pain. You give back the negative stories. You give back all the pain, the suffering, the trauma. And you reclaim the truth that you were innocent, that you didn't know any better, that you were doing the best you could with what you knew, that you were completely pure in your intentions. You did not mean to do that. You did not mean to cause it or to trigger it. I didn't know. The little boy in me didn't understand that my dad maybe had just worked double shifts. Maybe he was exhausted. Maybe he was stressed out. You know, I don't know that, right? We don't know these types of things when we're children. So whatever your thing is, we don't know the pain of the other person. But now as conscious adults, we can understand it, and so we give it back. So give back the pain. We give back the traumatic experience, and we see the other person with compassion, because we now can realize from a safe place, none of this was about me, it was actually all about you. It was an expression of your suffering. And I accidentally made this about myself. Now here comes the consoling part. Now you want to see that version of yourself in the visualization. So first we got the experience, then we saw the perpetrator or the person, and we gave all the energy back. We restored and remembered and reclaimed our innocence separate from the situation, and we realized that was actually not about me. Then from there, we now turn our mind's eye to that version of ourselves, and we want to imagine ourselves holding them and teaching them as like the loving parental figure would have done, and explaining, oh my love, my son, my daughter, you sweet soul, you are so innocent. This had nothing to do with you. This was his or her pain. And I'm so sorry you had to go through that. You are so loved. You are so nurtured and held, and you're not alone. You want to give whatever safety or counsel comes to you that speaks to the emotion most for you. So for me, maybe it's like, you're so safe. I promise you will be so protected. This is not this is not permanent. This is not about you. This is not your fate. This is something you are going through with this person, and to really realize and to keep yourself pure and know that it is not yours to carry. So we go back into this experience, and we want to explain to ourselves from a wiser place, now that we're an adult, that none of this was about us. I couldn't even imagine if my mother or another adult came into my life and explained that to me as a little kid. I wouldn't have had to create the narrative and the story in my mind that I'm the problem or that I am deserving of that. And so whatever the trauma is, whatever the emotional hurt is, be there for yourself, hold yourself and restore that innocence. Remind yourself how innocent you truly are. And then you can make peace with it, make peace with the truth of who you are, see the other person with compassion, and then release energetically the hold that this story has on you. Reclaim the truth that you are innocent, you are safe, you are protected, you will always be guided. And breathe into it. Breathe into the knowingness that you are a divine, perfect being just as you are. And that all this pain, all this suffering just simply came from a place of innocence, of naivety, just not knowing. And there's no one to blame or judge, but to just see yourself and the other person with compassion. Yourself with compassion for the fact that you had to go through this pain. Yourself with compassion, realizing that you took on this pain unknowingly because you didn't understand what was happening. And of course then compassion for the other person because they deep down didn't know how to help themselves. They didn't know how to heal themselves. And because they are so lost in their own pain, they don't know what else to do other than just keep projecting it. And this is what we as humans do. We don't understand that this is how it works. As we take on something, we haven't been taught how to process that. And so we then start carrying it out in a projecting way. We start doing it to other people. And so when we reclaim this innocence for ourselves and for the other, if we do this enough times, we can reclaim our wholeness and we can truly be at peace and truly forgive the situation.